Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Bad Movie Reviews. So, just to contrary belief, obviously looking at the name, you probably think we're covering, films like Transformers, the Last Night, but no, this is actually just a play on our name. I'm Ben, one of your co-hosts. This is Daniel, so Bad.
Pleasure.
Ben and Daniel. Obviously, to introduce ourselves, knowing that this is the first episode, we'll have a few quick fire questions just to get into a bit of background. Daniel, what's your favourite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time? I think would have to be probably Blade Runner. That'd go up there. One of those movies, definitely captivated by the entire thing, as you know. Sat there with my popcorn drink, didn't touch it for the entire show, so it must have been a pretty good movie. And next would have to be Lord of the Rings as a series overall. Something I could watch a billion times, would never get sick of. If I'm picking a favourite one out of all the trilogy, would be Return of the King, as you're aware.
For sure.
Yep.
Yep. And I presume you meant 2049 as well, because Blade Runner 2049, because I was with you and you did not touch your drink.
Yeah.
Not the first one, which is still a good movie, but...
Great movie.
Yeah. Touching myself. To touch on my favourite movie myself would probably be Whiplash with Miles Teller. Unreal movie. Other than that, I do love Interstellar. I do love my sci-fi, which, funnily enough, Daniel's a big sci-fi fan, still has not seen Interstellar, so we'll get him on that. Either has not seen Whiplash, so I'm not really a good friend, am I? But those, give you a bit of background on my favourite films. Favourite director of all time?
It would be Blade Runner's director, which is Denis Villeneuve, I believe.
Villeneuve.
Yeah.
So that's current. Do you have one of all time, or that's just all time?
Up there also to include special mention, definitely James Cameron.
Yeah.
Some phenomenal films he's released over, fair few years.
Never missed, really, and he's been making films for 30 plus years. So, favourite director myself, funnily enough, I'd probably say also Denis Villeneuve. Big Chris Nolan fan, but he's had a few. I wasn't the biggest fan of Tenet, so. But other than that, probably working is Damien Chazelle. Obviously, I named Whiplash, but he's done La La Land and First Man, the space one with Ryan Gosling. Got another film coming out later this year, which I'm super stoked for. But he's probably my favourite. Working today, fave movie of the year. Obviously, it's 2022. What would you put there?
Yeah, and you'd probably be on a similar kind of board of where I am, and probably a lot of yourself. But Batman, number one. Since the moment I watched it, I knew this was going to be one of the movies of the year. Obviously, still be a year to go, so some good ones to come. But Batman up there, and then Everywhere, Everything, All at Once.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal film. It was definitely sick when I was watching it. Couldn't laugh as much as I'd like, but man, phenomenal film. Hit me in the emotions. Wasn't expecting a independent film to probably deliver the movie of the year for me so far.
Well, yeah, budget of 25 million, which is pretty minimal considering Batman had 300 mil or about that. But I'd probably say those two as well. Big fan of Batman, loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. I went into the cinema not knowing what to expect really, but loved that. Top Gun Maverick also would be there for me. We saw that in IMAX, and just in terms of the film craft, there's probably nothing. Everything Everywhere obviously was pretty special, but Top Gun to do what it did with real jets is pretty fun if you ask me. But that'd definitely be up there. But well, I guess we'll touch on a little bit of film news for last week. Obviously, we'll sort of have a bit of conversation about this, but this is super interesting. Obviously, DC have been going through an overhaul, or Warner Bros, mind you. They do HBO Max, Warner Bros Discovery, but they're going through the merger at the moment, and the Batgirl film was completely axed. So it had been completely made, $90 million budget. It had Michael Keaton actually reprising his role as Batman, and it had actually Brendan Fraser as the villain, and completely axed.
Yeah, absolutely outrageous. Can't believe it. From my knowledge, I can't remember last time, or if that's ever happened, for something to be fully made to the point of release, pretty much already uploaded and nothing, and it's just been completely cancelled. And the cast they had was phenomenal, which means that you'd think you'd go through with it even if it wasn't super profitable.
Well, yeah, it was a HBO Max release, so it wasn't getting theatrical. And I know, I can't remember the name, but they're completely overhauling it. Apparently, it tested really poorly, like really badly, like one of the worst films, really. Like,
yeah, cool.
Yeah, so but it was being directed by the guys who did the recent Bad Boys, which was pretty rubbish to be honest. But they also directed Miss Marvel, which I actually didn't mind, like a few episodes of that, but Super interesting. They did it as a tax write-off, but they've also cancelled. I didn't see it, but there was a fully animated Scooby-Doo movie recently called Scoob. They cancelled a prequel of that, and that was also completely done. It's actually kind of a bit scary, to be honest. Like, these streaming platforms doing this, like, I'm a big avid fan of collecting physical media. I've got 300 plus Blu-rays. Probably you've only probably got your 20 to 30, not much, but it is scary to think of, because like this film will never see the light of day, and if they physically can't release it now, if it's been used as a tax write-off, it won't be able to see anything. But it's. I mean, for instance, we obviously watched Stranger Things recently. It's like if Netflix just took Stranger Things down, there's no Blu-ray, DVD. It's like you could never watch it again.
Yeah, no, it'd be a huge loss if like Stranger Things go. Though The Crown was on it was a Netflix, wasn't it original? Or?
Yeah, why are you talking about The
Yeah,
Crown?
but I'm just saying,
I've never personally watched it, but apparently it's quite good. But it's a bit scary, really, in terms of streaming, obviously. But you never know what will happen. Obviously, it's weird that they cancelled this, but the Flash film, which has obviously $200 million budget, getting a theatrical release. Ezra Miller has been hiding a 16-year-old girl in his house, apparently, or something along those lines. He's got he's been arrested 4 times, and they're continuing with that release. So, and then obviously Aquaman was supposed to have Michael Keaton reprising his Batman role, and they announced that Ben Affleck was actually doing it. So I presume he's replacing Michael Keaton. So obviously, who knows what's going on there, but that's super interesting. I guess this is a bit of another DC move. They announced this a day after, I think, to kind of, lay it down easy on the flack they were copping. But the Joker sequel had been confirmed. Folie à Deux, so I don't know how to pronounce it, with Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn, which is a musical. So that comes out 2024.
Oh, I didn't actually know that Harley Quinn would be playing.
Lady Gaga's playing Harley. Yeah,
be playing Harley Quinn. That's very interesting, especially on probably some of the conversations that we've discussed earlier, where kind of the idea that a musical could make sense if it was in a psychopath's head and that's all they pictured.
Well, that it's been rumored that it'll take complete place in Arkham Asylum, which really intrigues me. Really enjoyed the first Joker. I didn't really want a sequel, but now that they've announced it's a musical, I'm kind of intrigued. But I also, if a sequel never came out, it wouldn't probably bother me. But the fact that it's a musical kind of intrigues me a little bit.
Yeah, I love the idea of it. And it's only because of I could see the play on it with the whole like psychotic side. You could picture the scene as in like 2 reverse scenes where one, like people breaking out of the prison, everyone's getting murdered or something like that. And then
they break in a song and dance.
It flips to like Harley Quinn's version where like all that's happening and she's living in this la kind of land where it's all a sing-along, which I think would be a phenomenal take on the film in an interesting direction.
The only weird thing that kind of doesn't sit well, it sits like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, I think is fantastic, and she's only played Harley Quinn in obviously Birds of Prey, the first Suicide Squad, and then the recent James Gunn one, which only came out last year. And it's like you're going to have 2 Harley Quinns within a 2-year period, which is a bit weird. But I know they're going for a very standalone one, and it's like, who knows if the Batman will have its own Harley Quinn. Who knows? But last bit of news I've got, which actually really excites me, but at the same time a bit disappointed. We just said it, our favourite film of the year, one of Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is directed by a group of 2 Daniels, funnily enough, also Daniels. They signed an exclusive 5-year pact with Universal Studios. So exclusively making, obviously, their last 2 films, Swiss Army Man and Everything Everywhere All at Once, was done through A24, one of my favourite studios, very independent. Going to Universal, though, obviously means they have a lot more probably money to obviously deal with. So that's kind of interesting. But obviously a bit of a loss there for, I guess, the indie crowd. You hope they don't get, shoehorned into obviously doing, a big budget blockbuster. Who knows? But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you don't really want to take away all the uniqueness that you get with the way they currently direct and film and design their indie-based films. You don't want them to go to big budget that they've kind of created something that's not theirs, something a little bit too maybe mainstream, and miss out on some of their key aspects they had that built their fantastic films.
Well, that's the thing. A 5-year pact. It's not like as a 5 movie deal or anything. A 5-year pact. They could literally not make any movies in that time, and then they've just got paid, and then they've scammed Universal, which would be pretty funny. But it is interesting. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's not really any movie news for the week. Obviously, this is our first pod. We won't touch on movie news that came out 6 months ago. There's no point. That's obviously got its airtime. But I guess we'll take a quick little drink break and we'll jump into our review. We've got a review of Prey and Bullet Train. So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back at you with that. Okay, so we'll jump into our review of, I guess, Prey first. That's the first film we obviously saw this week. Going straight to Disney Plus, actually. Bit of a streaming, but we were lucky enough to get tickets to a preview screening, actually, in the city. I guess I'll let you sort of touch on your thoughts first if you want. Obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a prequel to Predator movies set in 1719, I think it was. With basically it was a Native Indian or Native American, tribe basically taking on a predator. But that's your basic plot as it gets. But I guess I'll let you touch on it first. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought the movie was quite entertaining overall. In no way was it like an absolutely fantastic blockbuster masterpiece, but I'm not sure it deserved the more personal disrespect of maybe going straight to streaming. I thought it was a kind of movie you'd want to see in a cinema with all that great cinematography and all the great fight scenes and the very iconic Predator-based action. I really enjoyed the filming overall. I thought a lot of the characters were pretty cool, but a lot of the kind of background characters were pretty wooden because, you kind of do, I guess, kind of aim towards it. Just the main character and obviously the main kind of enemy / bad guy / predator in this case.
Yeah, for sure. I tend to agree that the main girl in it, who her name's Naru, but it's Amber Mindhunter. I actually don't think I've seen her in anything before. She was actually really great, but I would agree that she was obviously mainly the focus. A lot of the background characters I probably couldn't really name if I'm being fully honest. But no, in terms of my opinion, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was probably the best Predator movie since the first, the original with Arnie. I actually couldn't tell you what happened in Predator 2, if I'm being honest. I didn't mind the 2010 one with Adrian Brody where they went to actually their land and they freed the original Predator and it fought the recent one before that, Predators, I think it was, with Olivia Munn, total dog shit. But we won't touch on that too much. But no, I really liked it. I think what's funny is it's what you can realistically do. I think they've figured it out. Like Predator movies, you can realistically just put it in any time period and just chuck a Predator there and it'd be great fun. Like imagine some samurai movie, like a samurai period where a Predator just lands on, in Japan and taking on samurais. It'd be pretty cool. But
that'd be pretty sick.
No, I tend to agree. This kind of film, I'm really glad I saw it in a cinema. But my problem with streaming movies is my full attention span, I'll be honest, probably isn't there. You have obviously, that's obviously like an ADHD thing with me. My attention, when I'm in a cinema, phone's off. You're watching the movie, you're fully immersed. Whereas obviously at home, you've got all these different distractions and things like that. But in terms of obviously the film itself, I thought it was a beautiful film. Like it was all, on site, kind of filmed sort of naturally rather than obviously green screen and things like that, which I think really helped. I actually really liked the Predator design. And the action was really cool. There was some very innovative, cool kills where I was sitting there like, geez, it's a bit brutal. But
it's pretty sweet.
No, I actually really enjoyed it. I definitely recommend watching it, I'll be honest. Obviously, by the time this probably goes out, I think it's already up on Disney Plus in Australia. I don't know where it is available to stream anywhere else, but bit disappointing it didn't get a theatrical release. I don't know how it would go, but I know it's actually getting very good reviews. I think it's now placed number 1 of any Predator film, which obviously, the first one released in the 70s. I don't know how many people were uploading their review to Rotten Tomatoes, but at the time, but no, definitely recommended. In terms of the director, I thought he did really well as well. I think it's the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane, Dan Trachtenberg, who also wrote it, which, he directed 10 Cloverfield Lane and a few episodes of The Boys, which the Amazon show, which I really enjoy.
You love The Boys.
I do love The Boys. I think it's one of the great. I think it's really gotten better as the time goes on. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing more of these kind of films. Really.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Yeah, the time frame surprised me actually when I didn't hear too much about information on the fact that there was going to be a prequel based Predator film. So I was excited when it came out, but in the first movie, or I should say, sorry, the first Alien versus Predator movie, they touch on the fact that they were actually like revered as gods and in like ancient Aztecs, and that's where like the aliens also kind of started. The humans had sacrificed themselves. I thought it might have a little bit more around that and see them as more godlike beings and see that process. But yeah, look, the take based in 1719, I thought it was pretty cool with the kind of Western Native Indian kind of fight scenes and vibes that they all had together, and it was great use, great cinematography, good use of real life kind of landscapes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if they've addressed it. Whether I don't actually know if Alien v Predator is actually considered law, or whether it was just a fun crossover film. But what I actually really find cool is on. I know it's in Hulu. Looking here in America. I don't know if it's on Disney Plus, but they actually uploaded. It's the first ever film where it's done in 2 languages. So they've actually uploaded an English one, and then they've actually uploaded one in the native Indian language, which is really cool. Obviously, it'll be subtitled for me, and I wouldn't understand a word. But hopefully, you see more things like that. I think that's I guess a cool way of going forward and acknowledging obviously certain languages and history. So hopefully, we see more of that in I guess future films to come. Anything else you want to touch on, obviously, with Prey, other than go watch it?
No, it was a great film, very iconic Predator, fantastic action scenes. Can't wait to see if there's a sequel to that. And I think there's a lot of room, like you said, to also go into a sequel. And you can pick nearly any time period, drop them in it, and I think you could make a phenomenal action film out of it.
For sure. I guess we'll touch on our next film that we saw this week, which we only saw 2 nights ago, Bullet Train, which... I guess to give you a better background, the plot here is 5 assassins are on board a fast-moving bullet train and essentially have to sort of finish their mission, which obviously the film will play that out. Starring Brad Pitt. I guess I'll let you go again first. What were your initial current thoughts on Bullet Train?
Loved it, as you know. Really loved it. I think I said after the film came out that it was one of the most enjoyable films I've watched this year. And then you gave me some funny looks. But great. For me, it was just like mindless fun. It was gruesomely hilarious. There was like, even the stuff that was like violent and gory was still kind of like funny. They had a kind of unique, hilarious take on it all. I thought the casting was fantastic. I thought all the characters were really awesome. And I liked that there was background shown to each character too. So you get to learn kind of a little bit on why they did X, Y, Z. I thought the film was great overall. It was pretty good. Not really any room for like character development or anything like that, but it's a kind of movie
if we're being honest, there's not really much plot to the film.
None.
It's just a good time, really. Obviously, it's directed by David Leitch. I don't know if I've said that correctly. Who's done in terms of films? He directed Deadpool 2. Which I actually really enjoyed, Atomic Blonde, which I remember but don't also remember, and I think he was co-directed the first John Wick, which is obviously a great movie. But funnily enough, interestingly, he actually started out as Brad Pitt's stunt double. He was Brad Pitt's stunt double in Fight Club till 2004. Worked with him in every film till 2004, and then obviously he's changed lanes and become a pretty successful director. So kudos to him. In terms of my opinion, I agree. I actually really enjoyed it. I think it was a good time. Plot wise, it was pretty lacking. There's not really any like wrap up, if that makes sense. There's not really any plot. Like you don't. It's just it's there, if that makes sense. But in terms of the action, the comedy, it was just really fun, really comedic at times. There were a couple of great cameos as well, which I won't touch on. Obviously, for you at home, if you haven't seen it. I won't touch on that to spoil them, but God, Brad Pitt's a good-looking man. No, but he's I'm really enjoying what he's doing lately. I really liked him in the cameo in The Lost City, but these more comedic roles I'm really enjoying by him. I think Aaron Taylor-Johnson's the real star here, who plays Tangerine and Lemon. They had great chemistry, but Aaron Taylor-Johnson is criminally underrated, and I think he deserves to be a leading man. He's obviously in Kick-Ass and things like that. He was fantastic, but cast really worked well together. They had great chemistry. In terms of action sequences, they were actually really well done, which you kind of expect. Obviously, director of Deadpool, stunt double himself, so he obviously knows how to work the camera with these action scenes. My only gripe with it is I think it got fairly over top towards the end, like a bit too much kind of thing. Like it was a very not down to earth movie in a way, but like it was obviously funny action, well directed action, but it was obviously all set in this bullet train, and then the end kind of obviously got pretty CGI heavy and a lot going on, which I wish it kind of was a little bit more, I guess, down to earth and humble in the way it finished it off. But no, I really enjoyed it, and I recommend everyone really to see this. If you like films like obviously the ones I've already said, Deadpool, things like that, you probably enjoy this and have a great time. And hopefully it makes, obviously it's I don't know if it's a completely original film, whether it was a book before but relatively original. It's not obviously a franchise or a prequel like Prey obviously was, but I really enjoy when original films do well. Then you get, it's not sort of as mass, sort of covered in the whole market really. But I wouldn't mind seeing a spin-off film with any of these characters, to be honest. Like a Tangerine and Lemon one. I think we actually said this after the movie. It'd be great. Like if you see one of their jobs and they're going to do their job, and I think they showed a little bit of their job somewhere. I can't remember where it was, where, with the foot and thing like that. That was interesting.
Yeah.
But
Bolivia?
Bolivia, might be Bolivia. Yeah, like it, just films like that. Really, like a bit of a side thing where just a film where you get two leads that have great chemistry and it's just fun.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. As you know, it's everyone will see when they see the film if they haven't already. But it's those two deserve their own movie, and I would 100% watch it. I feel like it had great aspects of good comedy and action mixed with like the movie Kick-Ass. I felt like it had like some crossovers of all that. Obviously that decision was also half made off the leading actor there, but
Kick-Ass, you're right.
Great chemistry, phenomenal. I would watch a film of just them doing what they do, just having a conversation, I reckon, for 2 hours. It was some of the best chemistry I've seen on screen in a while.
Yeah, I haven't, apart from I really don't know, to be honest. They did have great chemistry, and I think that's the thing when you have a fun set, you come in, I know, reading a little bit about this film, I know a lot of it was improvisation and things like that, which you can kind of tell. Yeah, that's like a lot of their chemistry, a lot of their words and their dialogue was improvisation, which kind of obviously frees up the actor. They're not stuck to a script, and I guess that sort of makes, I guess, a little bit more enjoyable on set, where you're not shoehorned into performing this specific role, and you can have a little bit of fun with it. But no, I recommend going to see it 100%. I enjoyed both films this week, actually, which is a bit of a rarity. I think usually, more often than not, films are shit, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose movies these days and nearly there. It's the idea is how much can they, I guess, disappoint you, and you try to not the right terminology. You know what I'm trying to say? It's in like there's now an expectation of it's not just how much they're going to achieve; it's how much they're going to disappoint you, and so because you have expectations that are so high that they've got.
It's an interesting time, obviously, coming out of pretty shit last 2 years in terms of COVID. It's a lot of films have been hit and miss, obviously, because you haven't been able to get screenwriters together. Obviously, films have been made in a pretty secluded, we're making it in this set. No one can do anything. So it's an interesting time. But I guess those are our, first two movie reviews, obviously, for the pod. But of this one, it's the only first two we'll touch on. But we'll have a little bit of a break there and come back to you in a second. Thank you and welcome back. Other than that, obviously, those are our two film reviews for the week. Obviously, this is our first podcast, so thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You can obviously find us on, I guess, any of the major podcasting platforms, whether that you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Obviously, we've got the visual element if you're watching on YouTube. Hello and welcome. But other than that, I guess, have you got sort of much to touch on, obviously, for the first pod or for the first week of the podcast?
Not really.
Not really, no. This will be a weekly thing. Obviously, films come out every Thursday in Australia, so probably be uploaded every sort of Sunday night our time once we see the film and have time to review it. But we'll be back next week to our review of Jordan Peele's Nope, which I'm super excited for. For all you who don't know, obviously, if you're listening in America or UK, I'm pretty sure it's out worldwide, but we only get it on the 10th of August. I think the date is here, so comes out a little bit late, but we'll have that podcast ready for you next week and that review. But other than that, thank you for listening, and obviously we'll see you in a week's time.